These acid blockers aren't really addressing the root cause. They're not really helping you to increase the stomach acid, which is what your body really needs to do to be able to function without relying on medication. Hey guys, Alexa here, helping you to design a life of healing and to make sense out of spiritual shit. Today I'm going to talk about stomach acid. First off, I'm just going to say stomach acid has gotten a horrible reputation, very unnecessarily, because it is so extremely important. And I wanted to kind of debunk a lot of common myths that people may have about stomach acid, as well as to explain how it actually works in the human body and why it's important, and what you can do if you have lower stomach acid, or to better understand what's going on in that region. So, stomach acid is gastric acid, also known as gastric juices. It is basically a combination of hydrochloric acid, potassium chloride, and sodium chloride. So it's this beautiful mesh of stuff that's inside of your stomach. Generally speaking, the pH of your stomach acid, or your stomach, should be between about 1.5 and 3.5, which is super acidic. And a lot of people, with a bunch of recent trends and recent fads, etc., are like, oh no, I want my stomach to be alkaline. And more power to you for recognizing the importance of alkalinity, but stomach acid is extremely important because that high level of acidity is actually what enables you to break down your food and to digest it and absorb the nutrients. Particularly proteins, actually. Stomach acid is really heavily responsible for digesting protein. I think of it as like a little package. You eat food, and as it goes through your digestive tract, it slowly unbundles the package, and then stomach acid, among other things, helps to come in and actually unravel the tiny little nutrients from that package so that your body is able to actually use them. The internet is a very misleading place. There is a lot of articles out there about how having too high of stomach acid can cause you to have things like reflux, etc. And I wanted to kind of sort of go into this and talk about why that's very misleading, because a lot of people think, well, if I have too much acid in my stomach, it's going to creep up and I'm going to be burping it out and it's going to be very uncomfortable. So they think, oh, well, naturally you want to lower your stomach acid. When in reality, that's not how it's working, at least for the most part. So symptoms of having low stomach acid actually include reflux, also includes things like feeling obnoxiously full hours after you've completed eating your meal. If you feel like you ate a decent, like a regular sized meal 4 hours ago and you've got a huge fucking burrito sitting in your stomach 4 hours later, that could be a sign that you don't have enough stomach acid in your system. Other signs of having low stomach acid or hypochloridia, having really, really bad nails, and this is something that I personally dealt with for a long time, is the peeling nails, and that's basically just, again, your body is not able to absorb the nutrients it needs, and so it is lacking in some nutrients, and that's one of the ways that it's going to be physically presenting itself. Some other common issues that we see with hypochloridia are acne, chronic fatigue, of course, heartburn and reflux, hair loss, and then overall just feeling exhausted or tired or anxious or just not well after eating a meal. Of course, this is not diagnostic. These are just some of the things that happen to come along with having hypochloridia. So, stomach acid is essential for activating what's called pepsin. And pepsin is an enzyme that basically, again, helps break down your food. So if you don't have enough stomach acid, those enzymes are not being activated, so your body is basically not being told, hey, we've got some food coming, we need to break this shit down, okay? And so if you're not getting those signals, if you don't have enough stomach acid and you're not getting those signals, your body is not going to be efficiently prepared to break down the food that you are consuming. Another really important role that acid plays is it kills the bacteria and viruses and other kinds of pathogens that may be laying around on your food. So it's actually really important for protecting you and protecting your intestinal health. Furthermore, and this is, I think, the most important concept that so many people are missing, if you don't secrete enough stomach acid, then the what's called pyloric valve doesn't open. The pyloric valve basically controls the flow of partially digested foods throughout your intestinal tract, all right? So if this valve isn't opening, the food will start to ferment in your stomach as opposed to going down into the intestines to do its fermentation process. Now, when this happens, a bunch of gas builds up in your stomach and it actually starts to creep up the pipe and try to come out so that you can, again, release that gas. And so if this happens, the esophageal valve is open. So if you don't have enough stomach acid, pyloric valve doesn't open up, so the food can't go properly to where it needs to go. So it starts fermenting in the stomach, which causes gas to rise up, and it causes that esophageal valve to start opening. If you get to that point where the esophageal valve opens, then sometimes what can happen is it's going to come up and be released that way, which will result in things like heartburn or reflux. And again, a lot of people say, oh, well, if I have too much stomach acid, that's what's going to happen. And in some cases, that can happen. I'm definitely not saying that it can't. But oftentimes, a lot of what's happening is you actually don't have enough stomach acid. And because you don't have enough stomach acid, that valve is remaining open. If you had enough stomach acid, that valve, the esophageal valve, would close and the pyloric valve would stay open. So it's basically this long, complicated way of saying if you don't have enough stomach acid, your body cannot keep moving the food through the tract the way that it needs to, so it may start, surfacing up in a different way. So if the pyloric valve, or it's also known as the pyloric sphincter, if it's not working properly, digestive issues like reflux can occur. All right, and so that's one of the things that I like to look very closely into. I've worked with a lot of patients who have been taking PPIs, which are proton pump inhibitors, or other kinds of acid blockers, which basically have the end goal of preventing the production of stomach acid because it's trying to relieve that symptom. The goal of medications like PPIs or acid blockers is to prevent that production of acid altogether so that there's not even enough acid to come up that far so that you don't have to deal with those uncomfortable symptoms. That is something that I found so shocking, that when you look at it logistically, what's actually happening a lot of the times is these PPIs or these acid blockers aren't really addressing the root cause. They're not really helping you to increase the stomach acid, which is what your body really needs to do to be able to function without relying on medication. I think it's so important to really understand what's actually happening and what is the actual intention of these medications. Is the intention to really solve the root issue, or is it to just help with some of the uncomfortable symptoms? So what causes low stomach acid? There are a slew of things that can impact your stomach acid production. The natural aging process can lower the stomach acid production. Along with aging, stress can actually also impact how much stomach acid your body is producing. And I'm going to explain why. The vagus nerve, which is basically part of what's responsible for that fight or flight or the rest and digest, it's the vagus nerve is kind of signaling to your body, are we parasympathetic mode, are we happy, are we calm, or are we freaking the fuck out? So the vagus nerve activates G cells, which then activates what's called gastrin, which basically helps to increase the production of hormones that lead to increasing stomach acid. That was a really long-winded explanation. Basically, the same nerve that's responsible for putting you in rest and digest or fight or flight is also going to be responsible for helping to create the necessary components for the hormones that are going to help create the stomach acid. So if you're under stress all the time and that system is constantly taxed and that vagus nerve is constantly going towards this fight or flight system, your body is not going to be effectively producing the same amount of stomach acid that it would if you were in the rest and digest mode for a lot longer of a period. Some other possible causes of hypochloridia and low stomach acid include medications as well as surgeries and operations. Also, bacterial infections as well as certain nutrient deficiencies, especially zinc deficiencies, which, hello, I've had. These things can all also lead to a lower stomach acid content. So what can you do if you suspect that you have low stomach acid? First one I would say is to educate yourself about yourself. Get some blood work done. See if you have any nutrient deficiencies or, other things that may indicate that you do in fact have low stomach acid. There also are things like the Heidelberg test, which can, again, help you to measure with a little bit more accuracy aside from just the symptoms. Do I in fact have low stomach acid? Another really important component here is to rule out things like H. pylori. If you have certain bacterial infections, you need to make sure that you're addressing whether or not that that might be causing you to have low stomach acid, because it's possible that you have some rampant infection that you don't know about, and that's actually causing you to have low stomach acid, which is in turn causing you to have all of this discomfort. Try to understand whether or not you have any infections, either past or present, that may be affecting your intestinal health. A couple other things you can do: stress management. Ooh, my favorite. Every single thing possibly ever that has to do with health. Stress management probably going to help you deal with that. Making sure that you are keeping that vagus nerve under control, keeping yourself in that parasympathetic nervous system, that, rest and digest mode. Do some deep breathing before eating, especially because the state that you are in when you eat your food does affect what your body does with that food. So I would definitely say focus on some stress management tactics. Chew your food thoroughly. Try to get as much of that breakdown done as possible before swallowing. It actually does help your body in the digestive process. If you're swallowing huge chunks of food at a time and you're not chewing them thoroughly, then that's giving your intestines so much more work to do. And if you already have low stomach acid, you're just adding to the burden there. So make sure you chew your food thoroughly and eat slowly before swallowing. Avoid eating late at night. I have found with myself personally, waiting at least 3 hours after a meal to go to bed, or let's reverse that, making sure that you don't eat a meal 3 hours or less before bed. So really have some space there to allow your body to effectively digest everything from the day before going to sleep. That actually can really, really help with that process. And the final thing, my personal favorite and what I have noticed the most positive results from, are actually supplementation. I do take a digestive enzyme formula every single time I eat. It has betaine hydrochloride as well as a couple of other precursors to help my body with its natural stomach acid production, but also betaine hydrochloride, among a couple of other things, help to give me a little bit more acid to help actually break down the food while you're eating. If you don't want to go into the realm of supplementation, if that makes you uncomfortable, feel free to try having at least 1 tablespoon of apple cider vinegar every single day. You can mix it with water, you can have it with tea, you can just down it straight. I think that's a little harsh. I like to dilute it with water, but hey, whatever works for you, whatever floats your boat. Something to help increase your body's stomach acid, as well as something to help increase your body's natural production of stomach acid. One of the common deficiencies of low stomach acid is actually having low zinc, so making sure that you're getting enough zinc in your diet as well. Whether, again, that's supplementation through IVs. A couple of foods that include high levels of zinc are actually cashews, baked beans, beef and pork, as well as pumpkin seeds. So, bottom line, stomach acid is super important for your body to be able to digest the foods that you're eating and absorb the nutrients properly. If you don't have enough stomach acid, your body does some weird stuff. It can't actually unbundle those nutrients as effectively as it needs to, and it results in you feeling sluggish, horrible, heavy, having crappy nails or heartburn or reflux or whatsoever it may be. So make sure that you're keeping your stress in check. You're doing everything that you can to get a good, well-balanced diet in so that you have enough nutrients so that your body is able to naturally secrete its own stomach acid. And if you need a little bit of assistance, make sure you do your research on medications, whether or not that's right for you. And also do your research on supplementation, foods, etc. that can help naturally to boost your body's stomach acid production. Thank you so much for watching. Please comment, like, subscribe. I post new videos every single week about health, wellness, spirituality, all kinds of wonderful things to help you on your journey of healing. Thank you so much, and cheers. We'll see you soon.